In times forgotten by human memory, the might of the Eldari Empire cast its shadow across the entirety of the galaxy. Unchallenged in their sovereignty, they lived idyllic lives of tranquility. But peaceful times breed weakness, and soon the Masters of the Stars soon fell into lives of depravity, their disciplined and focused psychic mastery wasted on trivial pursuits of indulgence and sensory stimulation. Within these societies, conservative leaders warned about the excessive decadence and corrosive addiction of the Eldari lifestyle, but their warnings fell on deaf ears. With their heads hung low, weeping at the Empire's fall from grace, many Eldar departed from their homes aboard world ships called craft worlds, as their people's pursuit of hedonistic impulses saw their cities drenched in rivers of blood. One of these world ships, the craft world Partholon, was one of the last ships to leave the Empire. Its people clung to every strand of hope they could, hoping something they said would shock the people out of their decadence and return them to their noble ways of old. However, the pleasure cults soon turned their eye to them, forcing the Partholonians to depart from their cities, the love for their people now a wound in their heart. Many Partholonians lamented the fall of their people, the mightiest empire of the supreme rulers of the galaxy, collapsing in on itself out of pride and hubris. They floated silently through the void in a stupor, peerless nobility of an ocean of stars, now reduced to refugees. In their aimless wandering, they drifted into a wormhole, the hand of Exilus, unaware and uncaring of their fate within. Back in the Eldari Empire, the psychic shockwaves of the Eldar's decadences began to stir within the warp, the cries and pleasures of many forming an amalgam of emotions and stimuli. Soon the Eldar's greatest failure would become manifest, for at the height of the Empire's hedonism and pride, a psychic scream reverberated throughout the Milky Way. In that moment, billions of Eldar across the galaxy died instantly, their souls shredded and tortured for all eternity by the greatest enemy of the Eldar people, Slaanesh, she who thirsts. The galactic shockwave of the birth of Slaanesh awoke the Partholonians from their stupor and depression. While they were too far from the epicenter of the psychic blast to be entirely annihilated like their brethren within the Empire, many aboard the craft world suffered from the aftershocks, losing their minds as they were racked with fear and pain. Even though they had somehow fled the galaxy entirely, the Partholonians soon felt the stare of the Prince of Pleasure through the psychic ripples of space-time, as their craft world had drifted into the Exilus sector. Rousing themselves from dormancy, the Partholonians quickly gathered information on their situation, only scanning the thousands of worlds the surrounding warp storms allowed them to navigate to. Soon they realized that, wherever they were never to leave again. During their search, they had found a world with a peculiar device hidden deep within its crust. The Partholonians began their research on the device, and after consulting with their most venerable spirits, soon found a discovery that would change their destiny forever. This device had been the remnant of a world engine left behind by their creators, the Old Ones. Using the psychic energies resonating within their world ship, the people could reactivate parts of it, bending its godlike energies to their whim. However, the elders had seen firsthand what this sort of supreme power could do to a people. They knew of the powers that had come into their possession, and with that, sealed off the world engine, a secret known only to a chosen few. While Partholonian leaders conducted their hidden research, the Partholonians began to establish villages and cities within the Great Deserts and the more temperate areas found dotted around it. Some people went further into reclusion, journeying over the oceans and into far-off jungles, tundras, or mountains, paranoid of being discovered by She Who Thirsts once again. The various tribes of Eldar that settled on the planet learned to live off of the land, their lives of hollow decadence now ones of discipline and humility. Never again shall their people fall to the temptations of Slaanesh. The Eldar of the aimless craft world settled on their new planet, which they named after themselves and assimilated into the natural order of the local ecology. Partholon was a world of fantastic creatures, wyverns and dragons of phenomenal power. Those who walked the path of war in their previous lives sought to harness the power of wyverns as to avoid becoming extinct on this unforgiving planet. From their mastery over these wyverns came the Dragon Knights, warriors who fought alongside their wyvern companions, a symbiotic relationship between rider and mount, necessary for such a cruel world. And so did the once downtrodden people cast off their useless Eldari titles of highborn and embrace their lives on this new planet. No longer were they refugees, but Wyverians, monster hunters of noble dragon's blood. Centuries passed as the Partholonians thrived on their planet. However, their newfound peace was broken by the sudden re-emergence of an ancient foe. From the heavens rained Gauss fire and necrodermis as the Wyverians found themselves assaulted by Necron forces. As their armies scrambled to action and far-off tribes were warned of the incoming invasion, the Wyverian elders pondered. The Necron dynasties are a primordial foe in their histories. Where had they come from? Were they dissidents of the war in heaven, a conflict so long ago that only the eldest of the world spirits knew of? A question that raised more questions, the elders now unsure of just not where they were in the universe, but when. The Necron forces stomped through the deserts, their soulless husks spraying lines of Gauss lightning across the dunes. However, fortune favored the Dragon Knights, as they were comfortable with waging warfare in the hazardous landscape of their homeworld. While there were many casualties, the Wyverians were able to successfully repel the invading forces. Many warriors stood vigil in defense against the potential threats of more invaders, for the elders were unsure of their attackers' motives. Were they after the mysterious contraption that had also led them here all these years ago? The conservative wisdom of the Wyverian elders sought to guard the universe from ever spawning another abomination like Slaanesh, and with that, the Dragon Knights of the Wyverian tribes swore to guard Partholon from any and all intruders who would dare threaten their existence. And unknowingly, the world engine deep below them that, if in the wrong hands, could destroy the very fabric of reality itself.